So let's actually do the multiplication of some of these. I'm going to do the first three on this page with you guys. So, first thing I always do is, again, check see if we can even multiply these guys at all. So we've got a 2 by 3 and a 3 by 2. So yes, we can multiply them. What are the new dimensions going to be? A 2 by 2. So what I like to do is once I check that, I sort of like to just draw the new or end result, the product of what these two matrices should be. So I should have a 2 by 2. So I like to just sort of put that down here so I know that that's what I should end up with. So if I'm in the process of doing this and like I have too many numbers and they don't fit or I don't have enough to fill the spots, I sort of have a red flag that goes off and I know I did something wrong. So I like to check that you can multiply them and write the new dimensions of that new matrix down there. So now let's do the multiplication. So with matrix multiplication, it's almost like distribution. You take each row and multiply it by each column. So this row here has to get multiplied by both columns. So 1 row times 2 columns, 1 times 2, gives you those first 2 spots. So it's sort of like a 7, I guess, if you want to think about it that way. You multiply these 3 in the row by those 3 in the column. So 3 times -1, 1 times 2, 0 times 5. So 3 times -1. I'm going to write this all out. If you guys eventually skip this stage or this step, that is fine. But 3 times -1 is -3. And then we just add them all together. Plus 1 times 2 is 2. Plus 0 times 5 is 0. So that's the first value. The second value in your matrix is going to be that first row times the second column then. So 3 times 0 is 0. 1 times 3, 3. 0 times 0 is 0. The more you practice these, the easier it will get. It really does just take practice to get a hang of it. And then the second 2 spots will be your second row times each column. So -1 times -1 is 1. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. And then this row times the second column. So -1 times 0. 4 times 3. 2 times 0 is 0. So we distribute and add those values up. So -3 plus 2 is -1. 0 plus 3 plus 0 is 3. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 10 is 19. And 0 plus 12 plus 0 is 12. So that is the product of those two matrices. So I check, can we multiply them at all, figure out the new dimensions, and then go from there. So for 2, we've got a 3 by 2 and a 2 by 3. So we can multiply them and we'll end up with a 3 by 3. So again, each row, I'm going to erase these dimensions, each row times each column. So if it helps, you can like put the dimensions there if you want. So the first row times the first column will be 0 times 1. plus 2 times negative 2. So plus negative 4. Then the second column, 0 times negative 5. 2 times 0 is 0. And then the last column, 0 times 4 plus 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. And then the second row times all three columns, so negative 2 times 1, 4 times negative 2. So negative 2 plus negative 8. And then negative 2 times negative 5, so 10. Plus 4 times 0 is 0. And then the last column, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. And then your last row times all of those guys. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 1 times negative 2, negative 2. 3 times negative 5, negative 15 plus 0. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times negative 6 plus negative 6. So our new matrix will be 0 plus negative 4 is negative 4. 0, 0, 0. Negative 12. Negative 10. Positive 10. Negative 32. Positive 1. Negative 15. And positive 6. So again, if you guys can skip that middle step of writing them all added together there, that is fine. I just know that sometimes it's a lot to try to remember, because not only are you trying to remember what you're multiplying what by, but then on top of remembering what you're multiplying together, you have to remember what the values were, and then you have to add them together. There's a lot going on, but if you can skip the second part and just get to here, that is absolutely fine. So let's look at the last one. We've got a 2 by 2 and a 3 by 2. So the inner dimensions do not match up, so this one we actually can't multiply. Okay, I'm going to have you guys do these on this page, but I want to get you set up to do the sports question here. So it says 2 softball teams submit equipment list for the season. So we've got the women's and the men's team. So each bat costs $21, each ball costs $4, and each uniform costs $30. So using matrix multiplication to find the total cost of the equipment for each team. So we know that regardless of if it's on the men's team or the women's team, each bat costs $21. So if you think about this, if you know your dimensions have to match, you can't do a 3 by 2 and then a 3 by 1, because this would be 3 by 2, 3 by 1. You wouldn't be able to multiply them. So just using your knowledge of how you're able to multiply matrices sort of tells you how to set this up. So we're not going to do women's and men's teams in columns. We're going to do men's and women's teams in rows. So let's just do the women's team, the men's team, and we'll go from there. So the women's team, we know they need 12 bats, and the men's team needs 15 bats. And those bats cost $21. Then for the balls, women's need 45, men need 38. They cost $4. And for the uniforms, women need 15 uniforms, the men need 17 uniforms, and they cost $30 each. So, go ahead and from there, figure out the total cost of equipment for each team. So now you guys can go ahead and multiply those together since I got you started.